نعيش زي ما بيعيشوا. اشمعنى احنا اشمعنى احنا اطفال فلسطين دائما مدروسين في الارض. ليش؟ بس بالعكس الله معنا. وانا طفله فلسطينيه يعني بدي احكي كيف اللي بيصير فينا انه بالدمار وكل شيء. يعني احنا لدرجه اننا بنشوف الاعشاب بتطلع من تحت الركاب، اهالينا بيطلعوا من تحت الركاب اشلاء بيطلعوا. احنا بس بدنا نحكي يا الدول العربيه تدخلوا انهي الحرب. احنا خلص مكفينا. قتلت الشعب والله ما ضلش بالشعب حاجه. شو ضايل من الشعب؟ شو ضايل؟ احنا بدنا حريتنا زي باقي اطفال الدول العربيه. بدنا حريتنا، بدنا نعيش زي ما بيعيشوا. اشمعنى احنا اطفال فلسطين دائما مدروسين في الارض. ليش؟ بس بالعكس الله معنا، الله بضل معنا. احنا بس لو انتم تتدخلوا بتوقفوا الحرب الحين. الناس شافوا وقفوها مكفي. الشعب كله مات. شو ضايل من الشعب؟ شو ضايل؟ بس فهموني ما ضلش. شو بدكم تعملوا يعني فلسطين؟ ما ضلش حال.
I don't think anyone can watch that without being moved to tears. The horror of a child or children in Palestine being exposed to all of these daily bombardments, being starved to death, being deprived of water, seeing their family members being bombed, seeing body parts all around them. No child anywhere in the world should ever be subjected to such horrors. Allahu Akbar. It is exactly 8:42 a.m. News and views on Salam Media, and in the same vein, I think our next guest, Trevor Shaku, is equally shocked by what he's just viewed on our screen now, a clip that we've played out. And of course, he too has a very, very strong voice regarding the situation in Palestine. Saftu is calling for Israel to stop the settler occupation of Palestine. A very good morning to you, Trevor Shaku. Welcome to the program, and thank you for allowing me that minute just to recompose myself. I couldn't help but become so horribly emotional watching that video clip.
Good morning, and thanks for being here.
So, Trevor, yes, carry on.
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
okay. In the words of Mariam Barghouti, and I quote, Gaza just broke out of prison, unquote. The recent counterstrike by the Palestinian resistance fighters is showing that peace, stability, and certainty can never be guaranteed in Israel, Palestine, until and unless the Zionist government ceases its violent occupation of Palestine and cedes the annexed lands back to Palestinians. Your thoughts?
No, we think so, because what happens is that the Palestinian people, not only are they going to continue resisting, but they've got that right to resist. And in the desperate context where the continued occupation, the continued dispossession, the systemic killing, and the oppression of Palestinian people continues unabated, the people in Palestine will have to use every method to begin to fight for the reclaiming of their land, to fight for their freedom, and to prevent the human rights violations that are meted at them at every time. And even in between the wars and the missiles, the Israeli Defense Force continues to systemically enter and remove people out of their house, temporarily using them as bases, as some of the resigned IDF soldiers who currently are in support of the Palestinian cause have come to expose the horrendous operations that they've carried out and how, as human beings, they could not take it anymore, which is one of the reasons why they eventually resigned out of the IDF and migrated out of Israel to Europe or to America, where they currently are able to express their rights, to express their voice more honestly, more clearly, even in opposition of their own government. So in this instance, we can only imagine that the oppressed people cannot rest except to fight back. And that is the reason why the words of Peruzi are very important and more correct. Because if the Israeli racist regime does not concede to the demands made by Palestine, which amongst others is to ensure and fight for the right to self-determination of the Palestinians without interference, to stop the killing and to respect not only the human rights but the international law on sovereignty, then the people of Palestine will continue to fight back, and therefore no one is safe in that context. And indeed, the people have to assess and have to fight back all the time. We encourage them to fight back because there's no other way except to fight back whenever you are oppressed. The aggressor must not rest. The aggressor must be met with resistance.
Trevor, we do know that Palestinians have since the year 1948 been battling the Israeli state, which was established in violation of their political sovereignty and human dignity. And then since 1967, the escalation of the occupation has since increased the brutalization of Palestinians and very sadly normalized and naturalized it. And that is very sad. And the world stands by in silence and watches this playing out. They watch this genocide playing out in total silence.
And that is the sad part because the silence is going on, and every time we also come out, of course, the peoples of the world, the working class people in particular, who come out in support of the Palestinian cause, do not have the power really to expel the Israeli interest inside their own country. All they can do is to protest with the aim of trying to appeal to their government that this government must act in line with concrete measures enacted in solidarity with Palestine, one of which is to expel the Israeli ambassador, is to close the Israeli embassy, is to end the investment and economic ties with Israel. But remember, those are just calls that they can put out there. So, in other words, what I'm trying to say is that international solidarity has not necessarily been effective. And what ought to happen here is that our governments have to stand up and take concrete measures. We are tired of them merely shouting on the sidelines as if they do not have the power, shouting on the sidelines in support of Palestine, but nothing concrete forthcoming. Because lives are being lost today. People are being killed and maimed every day. There are dispossessions, all of which, by the way, as South Africans, we have suffered during a 45-year-long apartheid and the preceding years of colonialism. So we have a combined years which span over a century and more than centuries rather of oppression, of dispossession, of occupation. And as a result, we have seen later in the stage of that occupation the concrete manifestation of the solidarity efforts by the international community. And those efforts, such as divestment, boycott, banning Israel from academic, cultural, and sporting internationally, has not necessarily occurred in the manner we should have done. Has not actually borne fruit. Of course, every time there is bombardment out of some moral conscience, our politicians come out to condemn Israel, but they continue as if things have not changed after the missiles would be silent. Everything will be normal. They'll continue with those diplomatic ties they have. The embassies will be there. The ambassador will be there. the foreign direct investment in our country continue to happen, by the way, and continue to operate. So this, in the context of lives that have been lost, in our view, is not enough, and things need to happen. Concrete material things ought to happen to show Israel that we do not approve of the actions there, of the occupation there, and therefore we want them to grant or rather to accede to the demands that have been put forward by the Palestinian people themselves and stop the carnage and stop the killing.
Trevor, we do realize that the struggle for Palestinian rights really is part and parcel of the international working class struggles against imperialism. And that being said, we also know that the South African Palestinian Solidarity Campaign has revealed a very grim picture in their statement detailing the attacks on Masafer Yatta villages. It goes on to say that Palestinians are under constant attack from occupation soldiers and illegal settlers. The illegal settlers have been armed to take out any civilian, any Palestinian civilian that crosses their path. They destroy their homes, their schools, they uproot trees, they steal their livestock. They also have confiscated cars of teachers to stop them teaching at schools and arresting residents. And the other sad part as well, which I raised last week, is that it is olive harvest season. And a lot of Palestinians are farmers, they're olive farmers. They've been prevented from harvesting their olives, which means that they're not going to have any money to carry them through till the next harvest season, if they even will be allowed to go and plant, and to go and plant their, irrigate and plant their lands again.
Yeah, that's the sad part again. And this shows a flagrant disregard of the international law. These are the people who, by the way, as the United Kingdom and the Americans come out, including themselves, by the way, in every public platform, they come and say, no, they are the remaining democracy in that particular part of the world. And this is just sheer lie. And this is demonstrated by the fact that they themselves, as you are asking and giving this example, it shows that they have no regard for democracy and their values of liberalization. Because what they tell us and what we understand of this liberal regime globally that we see is at the bedrock and at the heart of it, you have the freedom of people to be able to produce, of people to be able to trade their own goods. And in this instance, such particular problems that you mentioned with the harvesting of olives and all of that is problematic in a sense that it is violating the so-called liberal principles of trade. But secondly, this is on the side of Palestinians. This is problematic because it means that those people will not, if the olives were the only form of their income, those farmers who are farming those olives, if that was the only form of income that they are making, it means therefore they will not have an income, and therefore it is leaving them exposed and vulnerable to hunger. And therefore, without any income, they will not be able to procure whatever commodities that may be sold in the local markets, whatever local market will be left to be able to sustain themselves and their own families and households. So this is a problematic sense, and not only is it violating the liberal trade principles that I've mentioned, but it is also violating the rights of the people to access their only livelihood. And because this olive and the harvesting of this olive means that they would have made an income that will allow their families to live, it is therefore just an imposition of indirect hunger on those people. It is an imposition of hunger on those people, actually not even indirect, of hunger on those people, because it means they will not be able to afford to feed their own families with the income that would have come out of the harvest and the sales of those olives and the oil that is harvested or other processed out of those olives.
Absolutely. Okay, my final question then to you. We do know that Saftu has joined other organizations in solidarity with Palestinian people, and you've gone on and condemned the illegal occupation of Palestine by the occupying state of Israel. You have joined hands. What are your demands regarding the South African government? What do you want? How active do you want our government to be in support of the Palestinian people? What do you want them to do and not do?
So we want them to, so we welcome the recollection of the recording, rather, the recalling of the diplomatic staff. We were not, of course, satisfied. We want them now to tell the ambassador of Israel to close the Israeli embassy. We also want them to expropriate, if they can't expropriate the bilateral, all foreign direct investment that comes from Israel. And this, in our view, is important. And the first thing is that they must cut and lobby the African organization, the African Union, the SADC, and other regional bodies in the continent to expel and to implement the same, and to begin to use the international platform to argue for the exclusion of Israel in the sporting competitions internationally and culturally. So in the context of this demand, we think that those will be the concrete steps in our view that will begin to isolate Israel and put pressure. And if we not only as a country succeed in doing that, but succeed in lobbying others to do that, then indeed it is our view that we may begin to see concessions, real concessions, coming out of that. And we have learned through during apartheid, rather, that economic purposes are very important. So in addition to calling for divestment, which is expelling of foreign direct investment, we are also calling for economic boycott. And this is not necessarily directed at government, but directed at the population at large, the working class in particular. Because remember, the population is the very market which this investment seeks to make profit out of. Because whenever there are investments, they trust that the circulation of the goods and products that they produce will only, their value will only be realized during circulation, during sale in the market. And if you shut the market for them, that is, you call people to heed to the call of boycott and not buy or handle any of the goods that are linked with any investment from Israel, then you will be doing a good service to the boycott campaign, because that will mean you are hating you are going to reduce the sales of those companies and the products that are produced by those companies, and therefore the profits will significantly drop, if not put them in the range of loss making, and that on its own, in our view, will hurt the investment of those companies. This is one way in which we can, as a people, exercise our power to show solidarity, concrete solidarity with the people of Palestine.
Trevor Shaku, thank you indeed. You are the spokesperson of Saftu. We do apologize for that line being quite bad. And of course, we can only blame that on the weather and I guess connectivity. But thank you indeed for your views on this matter. Go well and God bless.
Thank you very much.